All right, I gotta talk to you. I gotta talk to you about Vietnam prisoners of war, 19th century German fiction, including insects, and dynamic learning processes. Intrigued? Do I have your attention now? Well, here's the thing. The more I think about what we're experiencing, it's going to perpetuate. Would you agree? I mean, be honest with yourself. At the end of April, is everything really going to go back to normal? Is it really going to be a normal summer? Probably not in the way that we were thinking in January. So something's going to be different. And that leads me to think that I don't need to ask myself, when will this be over? But how will I continue? And that leads me to think of just this general concept called resiliency. This is a word that is going to be completely raped and pillaged next year because, well, to be quite honest, it's going to be really important to each and every one of us. Now, resiliency is a concept in psychology that's been around for a long time, since the end of World War II, where they became fascinated with how people, despite the circumstances that were less than optimal, we'll say, could endure. And some of the research that they've come up with is that resiliency is not something that you're born with. It's not a genetic quality. It's something that is a dynamic learning process, and the more that you experience, the more you can adapt. A good definition for resiliency is adapting successfully to disturbances that threaten system function. What does system function mean? Well, you could take that biologically, psychologically, emotionally, or sociologically, but it's basically our ability to receive shit and be better for it. Now, I have a couple examples of that. One is very off the wall, but it's a word that I've been thinking of, and the word is metamorphosis. Now, the definition of that word is that something goes from an immature form into an adult form. Now, there's obviously a biological process that happens there, but do you remember the book from when we were sophomores in high school called Metamorphosis? It's by a guy named Franz Kafka. It's a really weird book. And, literary scholars are still arguing about was he just on drugs and it doesn't mean anything, or is this really deep level to what he was saying? But if you don't remember the story, it's basically a salesman that turns into a grasshopper. He becomes bedridden, and his sister comes to the rescue and takes care of him. Now, the reason that I bring this, this is graduate level symbolism. The coronavirus is the salesman. That's where all the focus is. He turns into this grasshopper. He can't move his arms and his legs, and his whole family is consumed by what's going on. We're all consumed by the economic and microbic devastation that's happening all around us. But something happened in that book. On the periphery, his sister, who was just a girl when she started taking care of him, blossoms into this mature woman. And Greta, who's the character's name, is us in this story. All I mean by that is I think that we have an opportunity to also become this adult version, so to speak, compared to who we were before this whole thing went down. There's an opportunity for us to use this crisis to our advantage, because there's a lot of stuff that is really crappy. There's a lot of stuff that sucks. But I think the growth from a character standpoint, the resiliency that inevitably each one of us are going to have to endure in some shape or form, is one of the best parts of this. And even though it's not pleasant for me, I think that I'll look back and be really thankful. I know that sounds weird, but be really thankful for how this grew me in ways that I just couldn't in seasons of plenty. Now, I'll leave you with this one story, and this has been circulating the internet, but it's so good that I want to make sure I might be the one that tells you versus someone else. In Vietnam, Vice Admiral James Stockdale was imprisoned as a prisoner of war for 7 years. And there's so much great information that he talks about in this interview with Jim Collins. But the thing that really stuck out to me is when he said that he knew, as he's going through this, that it would make him a stronger and better person. And he says, not only that, he said, but you realize I'm the lucky one. And the interviewer says, no, I don't understand. And he goes on to say, I'm the lucky one because I know the answers of how I would do, and you never will. So good. It's so good. And what he's saying there is that he knows what he's made of. He knows what would happen if he were to face something that was really difficult, because he had to. And brothers and sisters, each one of us have that opportunity because we are in something that's really, really tough. We have this opportunity to develop. We have this opportunity to become, as we emerge from this in whatever date and time that is, this different version of ourselves, this better, if that's even possible, version of who we are. And so I hope that amongst the hurricane of information that you're downloading, that this is a gentle eye of the storm to remind you that good can come out of this. And the good is you. And the good is who we become. Now, if you're like me, I realize that there's a lot of stuff I'm going through where I'm not cutting the mustard. And so I need to tap into who I am and find that alter ego, that identity that I need to become, that I need to embrace in order to do what I gotta do. So if that's you, join me. Let's do it together. Until next time, can't wait to see you become.